Thank you. So I'm Howard Walthall. I'm the founder and chief executive officer of Lumiheal Therapeutics, as he said. I'm also going to talk to you about regenerative medicine and wound care, so we have a theme here at the end of the day. I was formerly the CEO of the New Tech companies, which developed and commercialized regenerative medicine products for orthopedics and wound care. We built that company to a very successful exit to Organogenesis, which is a public regenerative medicine company also focused on wound care. And I worked at Organogenesis for several years, wearing multiple hats, including head of strategy and business development. So I've seen a lot of the wound care market, but the thing that has really stuck with me the most, coming more from orthopedics originally, is just how huge the clinical need is and how much room we have for improvement in how we treat wounds, because it's truly a huge, huge problem. And I won't belabor this too much since you've heard it already today, but we have tens of millions of patients globally who suffer from non-healing wounds every year. The global healthcare system is spending something like $150 billion or more to try to treat these patients. And unfortunately, the problem is getting worse, not better, driven by demographic conditions, including our aging global population and the increasing prevalence of diabetes and other comorbidities. So it's a serious problem for the healthcare system. Unfortunately, treating these wounds is not cheap. This is not a Band-Aid situation. It's thousands of dollars to treat a wound, even one that heals fairly quickly. If they don't heal quickly, it becomes more and more expensive progressively. So the cost of a failed healing ulcer is almost quadruple that of one that heals fairly readily. And then if in the 20% or so of patients who have foot ulcers that have to progress, as Kevin was talking about, to amputation, the 5-year mortality rate is near 50%. The cost of treatment can be $25,000, $100,000 or more. So it is a serious problem for the patient. The patient's life is at risk, and it's a serious problem for the healthcare system that we don't want to have to deal with. So one of the big problems, and I think you can sort of gather that from what you've heard this afternoon, is that there's a big gap in the continuum of care. So the current market-leading products sort of fall into two extreme sides. There's the dressings. Now, we've had that technology as human beings for thousands of years. The technology has gotten a lot better, but it's still primarily controlling the moisture level in the wound. And we know that moisture level control does help wounds heal, but for a lot of patients, it is just not enough. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have advanced therapies, or active therapies, they're sometimes called. Things like negative pressure, cell and tissue products like I worked with at New Tech and Organogenesis, hyperbaric oxygen. And these can work well, but the problem is they're very expensive or can be hard to access, or both. So far too many patients essentially fall right through this gap. They need more active healing therapy, but they don't get it, or they don't get it until it's too late, and the results can be really tragic. So our solution is the Lumiheal system, which is a breakthrough therapeutic device that harnesses the power of fluorescent light energy to heal. And it fits perfectly in this gap I was just talking about, because it gives you an active therapy or an advanced therapy you can use to help the patient heal, while at the same time being very accessible, easy to use, and relatively inexpensive compared to the alternatives. So how does it work? It's actually a quantum biology effect. So the LED lamp, there's two components, an LED lamp and a topical. And the LED lamp produces blue LED light, and the topical has a chromophore system that absorbs that light and releases fluorescent light energy photons. And the fluorescent light photons penetrate the wound tissue beneath and stimulate healing. So we see regenerative medicine effects that we see with other products, such as increased angiogenesis, increased collagen production, and perhaps more importantly, reduction of inflammation, which we now know is a major driver of wounds failing to heal. But maybe the most interesting thing it does is repair the mitochondrial system of the patient's cells. So many of you know the mitochondria are the power plants of the cells, and it turns out that in chronic wounds, those systems are damaged. They can be fragmented, and there's an inadequate number of mitochondria to supply the metabolic needs of the cells. So the fluorescent light energy actually repairs the mitochondrial network and gives the cells back the power that they need to do their job, which is to heal the wound. So what's perhaps most exciting about Lumiheal is not just the advanced science, but that it's so simple. So it's essentially 5 minutes 5 minutes of treatment twice a week is the optimal amount, and it's so easy to do that essentially anyone could do it anywhere. The LAMP system can be customized for the application, the site of care, but we can make a version that's so small that it's sitting in my backpack back there, or you can make a large one that rolls around a hospital or clinic. And because it's easy to use and very portable, it's perfect for a home care application. So you could connect it to a digital system to help manage the wound and have true remote wound care with no visit to the office. So the clinical data so far is very, very promising. So the largest trial is called EUREKA. It's a 99-patient real-world trial, hard-to-heal VLUs, DFUs, and some pressure ulcers. 82% of the patients responded to the therapy with improvement in their wounds. Many of them had been there for years. As you can see, substantial reduction in the wound area, and 95% of the investigators said they would recommend the product to their colleagues. So we also have a matched cohort analysis. So we took all 10 patients from EUREKA at one site and compared that to 46 statistically matched standard of care patients at the same site. And as you can see, there was a very big difference in the healing rate between those two groups. So the next step in our clinical program is an RCT, which we're in the planning stages for and is one of the main uses of funds for the current raise. So as been pointed out previously, this is a large market, something like $10 billion for advanced wound care products every year and growing steadily. And even sub-markets like US DFUs or US VLUs are hundreds of millions or billions of dollars a year. Because of the size of the market and the growth, there's been a significant amount of value generation in terms of acquisitions and public company pricing. So for those of you who don't know much about the wound care market, it's been a lucrative place to be. My exit was a nice one, and there have been much bigger ones lately. The Lumiheal system is very near to successful commercialization, so we actually have a CE mark for acute and chronic wounds in the EU. There's pilot commercialization in Italy. The FLE platform has over 36 international patent families protecting it, 35 peer-reviewed publications studying it in the lab, in animals, and in humans. The US approval pathway is 510(k) de novo. We have a pending application for post-surgical incisions, essentially improving the speed of healing and the scar outcome. And we expect a US chronic wound approval in Q2 2023 following the RCT we're planning. We think there'll be US reimbursement via procedure codes. And I founded the company in late 2020 to in-license the FLE technology for wounds and burns, and I will have global rights other than East Asia. We're putting together our executive team and our advisory team, and we've actually already recruited some very strong group of advisors. So we have wound care KOLs, regenerative medicine experts, as well as clinical trial experts, and particularly Dr. Driver and Dr. Serena are helping us plan our RCT, and together they've done almost 100 wound care RCTs in their careers. So far we've raised $500,000 through a convertible note, and we're raising $6 million in a Series A to take us through 510(k) de novo approval for chronic wounds and expand commercialization in the rest of the world. I'm happy to take questions in the breakout room, and thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.